The kingdom of Emberfall was once a place of music and light. A vibrant heart in a green valley, crowned by snow-capped mountains. For centuries, it thrived in peace. But peace is a fragile thing. Emberfall's tranquility shattered the day the sky burned. It began with a tremble in the earth, gentle at first, then fierce enough to rattle castle windows. Birds scattered in terrified spirals. Then a shadow blotted out the sun, a dragon roaring from the mountains, its scales shimmering like molten copper, its wings beating the air with thunder. Fire glowed between its jagged teeth as it descended. Castle walls were torn apart with a single swipe of its claws. Homes were set ablaze. Citizens fled in terror as guards clashed hopelessly against the monster. For days, Emberfall burned. The king's best warriors fell, his defenses charred to ash. A thick fog of smoke settled over the land, and the once merry kingdom could only watch the horizon in fear, waiting for the next attack. But in every kingdom, there is always one story yet untold. Far from the capital, deep in the forest, lived a young warrior smith named Kale. He once trained for the king's guard, but left after his mentor fell in a skirmish. His heart had grown too heavy for the sword, so he chose a quiet life of ironwork, solitude, and guilt. When the dragon's shadow finally reached his forge, Kale stood in the doorway, watching the distant flames rise. The screams carried on the wind were a painful reminder of his past. He knew he could not run from fate any longer. He opened a chest beneath his forge. Inside lay the sword he had crafted years ago, a masterpiece of folded steel inlaid with a line of silver. He had never drawn it in battle, until now. Kale, strapped on his armor, pulled a weathered cloak over his shoulders and set out toward Emberfall. The journey was a descent into a nightmare. The once beautiful woods were now haunted and scorched. A permanent haze dimmed the sky. Along the road, he found survivors, their faces stained with soot, whispering rumors. The dragon sleeps in the mountain caverns. No mortal blade can pierce its scales. Kale said nothing, his hand tightening on his sword hilt. By nightfall, he reached the ruined city. The great towers were cracked open, the streets silent except for the weeping from broken homes. At the castle gate, the remaining soldiers recognized him. "You're Kale, the Iron Ward." One gasped, "We thought you were dead." "Not yet," Kale replied. "Where is the king?" Inside the ruined hall, King Aldrich sat on a fractured throne. "The dragon returns at sunrise," the king said, his voice rough with exhaustion. "Our defenses are gone. We have no one left to send." "Then send me," Kale answered. The king leaned forward. "None have survived. Why risk your life now, after abandoning your sword years ago?" Kale paused. "My failure cost someone I loved their life. I ran from war to avoid facing myself. But no more. Emberfall needs a blade, and if mine is all I have to give, then let it be enough." The king stood, placing a hand on Kale's shoulder. "Then take our blessing, warrior." And if you fall, know this kingdom will never forget your courage. Kale set out at midnight, climbing the jagged path up the mountain where the dragon slept. The higher he climbed, the hotter the air grew. At last, he reached a massive cave. Inside, the enormous beast lay coiled atop a mountain of treasure. Kale stepped forward. The dragon's eye flicked open. A deep rumble echoed through the cavern. So the dragon spoke, its voice like shifting earth. Another mortal comes to die. Kale gripped his sword. Not to die, to end this. The dragon grinned, revealing obsidian teeth, and uncoiled, flames burst from its maw. Kale dove aside as molten fire lit the chamber. He rolled, pressed forward, and struck at the dragon's leg. His blade bounced off its scales without a mark. The dragon laughed. Your kind never learn. But Kale's sword was no ordinary metal. It was forged with silver, blessed by ancient moon priests. He dodged, slid under the dragon's wing, and drove the silver-lined edge into a crack beneath a scale. The dragon roared, its blood burning like liquid magma. Now the real battle began. Fire rained down, claws struck stone. Kale moved like a shadow of iron, his blade a flash of moonlit steel. Finally, the opportunity came. The dragon reared, exposing the pulsing glow in its throat as it prepared a final inferno. Kale ran, leapt onto a fallen column, and soared upward with a roar of his own. His sword plunged straight into the dragon's exposed heart. The cavern exploded with sound and fire. The dragon shrieked, then collapsed. Silence fell. Kale, scorched and exhausted, fell to his knees, but he was alive. As dawn broke, the smoke lifted from the mountain. Kale returned to the capital, standing tall, his sword blackened but victorious. The kingdom erupted in cheers. The king himself placed the hero's cloak around his shoulders. At last, Kale's burden had lifted not through escape, but through redemption. And so the kingdom of Emberfall sang again, its skies clear and bright, reborn through the courage of one warrior who chose to stand when others could not.